For nearly 20 years before becoming Florida's first female attorney general. She was also on Trump's defense team during his first Senate impeachment trial.
Gotta be the first female. You gotta be the first something. It's always gotta be the first. Florida's first female attorney general. She's not the first. She's not the first America attorney general. So you suck, Pam. I'm just kidding. Pam might be nice. What happened to our boy Matt? What happened to Gates? I kind of want to finish watching this Pac-Man, Jank, and Destiny. The three lefties. The three. If they just had Hassan on there, it would be the mega lefty quartet. They keep calling Destiny right wing in the little conversation they had.
Meanwhile, former Congressman Matt Gaetz issued a statement saying his confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. It came 24 hours after Gaetz arrived.
See, he does look a little skeevy. Maybe I'm glad he dropped out. Maybe they found some stuff on him. And he's like, okay, instead of this coming out, I won't be AG. They got dirt on Matt.
On Capitol Hill, escorted by Vice President-elect J.D. Vance to meet senators and court their support. Gaetz had been under an ethics investigation in the House over allegations that he used drugs and paid young women for sex, including a 17-year-old girl. Gaetz denied it all. Privately, sources say at least 4 Republican senators told the transition they would not support him. Gaetz had resigned.
She was a honeypot. She was honeypot
in Congress, but there are now questions tonight over whether he could get it back. Our team is standing by to break it all down. We begin with our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Just this morning, Matt Gaetz was still pushing hard to get confirmed as Attorney General. But tonight, he is out of the running, withdrawing from consideration, saying he didn't want to be a distraction to the new administration. 24 hours ago, he was sounding confident.
What kind of excuse is that? What are you talking about? A distraction to the new administration? What? They got dirt on him.
Been going great. Senator's been giving me a lot of good advice. I'm looking forward to a hearing. Folks have been very supportive.
Gaetz dropped out shortly after speaking to President-elect Trump late this morning. His nomination rocked by allegations he used drugs and paid young women for sex, including a 17-year-old girl, which Gaetz strenuously denies. But sources say at least 4 Republican senators privately made it clear to the Trump transition team they would not support Gaetz, making his confirmation all but impossible. It is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the...
That is Joker. That's Jack Nicklaus.
Trump-Vance transition, Gaetz said.
Bro, I feel like I'm watching The Shining right now.
In a statement,
he's coming through a door at me.
There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I will be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Shortly after, Trump posted his own statement saying, quote, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to...
That's not what he said. He said, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. I don't like that he might be doing some drugs. You know, we don't do that. Not in the Trump administration. That's the Bidens.
To be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time, did not want to be a distraction for the administration. At least some Senate Republicans expressed relief.
Well, I mean, there's a sense of relief about it, of course. I mean, simple math, I think it was made clear that there's not a path, and if there's not a path, you're going to spend a lot of political capital for a losing cause, and it wouldn't have been worth it.
As this was happening, another embattled cabinet nominee.
Maybe Trump didn't like he was outshining him. Matt, they're talking about you more than they're talking about me, Matt. You're going to have to step down. Let me put another woman up here that nobody's ever heard of. She needs to be blonde.
Nominee was meeting senators on Capitol Hill. Trump's pick for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, an Army veteran and weekend Fox News anchor, engulfed in his own controversy. A police report released hours earlier spelled out in graphic detail a woman's allegation that Hegseth sexually assaulted her in 2017.
We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
In the police report from Monterey, California, a woman who met Hegseth at a
I wanted to hear more about this Pam lady and less about Matt. I don't we worry about Matt. We gotta look at what's coming.
This whole episode is actually really instructive of the way that Donald Trump intends to govern. He is looking for loyalists that will use the office to go after his political enemies.
And never
That's
leave.
his priority.
That's
and
a
he's,
joke.
he could have found somebody either with Matt Gaetz or with Pam Bondi who will, go after corporate tax cheats that are shipping American jobs to China, or going after corporations that are price gouging food at the grocery store. But he didn't. He chose loyalty, and he was willing to accept an enormous amount of bad political press with Gaetz, being involved in a sex trafficking ring that it involved minors. But he was able to tolerate that because Gaetz was the one thing that Donald Trump wanted, which is loyal will go after his political enemies. And so while Pam Bondi may not have the same baggage, like, a criminal investigation into paying sex with a minor, she does share one thing in common, and that is she will be loyal to Donald Trump and will use her position to go after his political enemies, not companies that are shipping American jobs to China.
Tricia, do you think that Pam Bondi is a better selection for AG than Matt Gaetz?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to remind viewers that the DOJ, which investigated Matt Gaetz last year, found no wrongdoing and did not press charges. So that's incredibly important to remember. I think Pam Bondi, she's been an incredibly effective 20-year prosecutor. She's the first female attorney general in Florida. She's known to be highly competent. She's been a highly effective spokesperson for Donald Trump. So, I think she's going to definitely have a pathway to confirmation, and I think she will absolutely act in a loyal way. But I do want to address my Democrat friend that in no way do I think Pam Bondi or Donald Trump will use this office to go after their political opponents, much like Merrick Garland and Joe Biden did.
Enough about Pam. I didn't even see anything about Pam. There's only 2 minutes in the article about her. Apparently, she did some good stuff in Florida, so that's good. She was helping out our boy DeSantis. Hola, Amanda. Let's see. I watched one Thorpe stream, and now they're all at the top of my feed. Whoa, they made a pig trap. Predator posing as a 14-year-old girl to have sex with teens. Oh, this lady's stuck in her perpetual adolescence. She never became an adult. She probably thinks she's a 14-year-old girl. Dressing all skimpy. I wonder how old she is. She looked like she about 34. It's a long crime. I can't watch it. So we watch it at like double speed. Here's your sign to avoid drugs at all costs. We already learned that lesson. I didn't get to watch this John Jones fight. Yeah, man, nobody's beating John Jones. He needs to quit. All the teens look so much older nowadays. Yep. Well, now the Girls are getting lip filler when they're like 17, 18. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world. Ah, screw it. We're going to watch some lefties. 3 of my least favorite.
Do you think that the government should be able to offer insurance or something for all?
A few seconds ago, he says, Tim Waltz. We all love Tim Waltz. Jank. Oh, I can't stand Jank. Can't stand Pac-Man. Destiny, I can tolerate. These other two, they keep calling Destiny right wing. You're pushing a lot of right wing policy here, Destiny.
Remember, guys, Trump beat the corporate Republicans. Like, you guys make it seem like, oh, hey, people are in favor of Republicans, or their voters are still, no, their voters rejected their corporate wing, and it came with a lot of baggage we're not happy with, right? But you have to give them a little bit of credit for actually, not for supporting Trump, who I think is a fake populist, but for at least rejecting Mitch McConnell, rejecting all those guys. So on our side, we say, oh, Mitch McConnell took $1 billion in corporate money.
Was this from him today? This video? I think Destiny put this video up today or yesterday, but it's from Pac-Man's show.
Throughout his career, terrible, evil, corrupt guy. Nancy Pelosi took a same $1 billion from very similar donors, did exactly what they wanted, just like Mitch McConnell. Terrific, angel, wonderful. Yeah, you could think that, and you could do all the marketing in the world for rah Nancy Pelosi. But at the end of the day, the American people woke up and they know that the $1 billion, whether it goes to a Republican or a Democrat, is corruption defined. So what we should do is we should have strong primaries and really challenge our candidates, because this whole idea of anointing, how's that working out for us? So we were supposed to trust the geniuses in Democratic leadership. Oh my God, they're playing 4-dimensional chess. We'll never figure out what they're doing. They're so smart. Really? Even under Obama, okay, Obama won a couple of times, and that's a long history, and we can talk about how selfish he was. But in the meanwhile, while he was in office, the Democrats lost 1,000 seats nationwide. And by the way, the guy most responsible for that was Rahm Emanuel.
This is all about they're saying that because Destiny said all of these like new extreme lefties need to go. They need to be out of the party, like the tankies and the socialists and the Bernie bros and the little baby commies need to get out of the left because they're the reason that they're losing. And Cenk is disagreeing with that. Cenk and Pac-Man both. Chunky yogurt.
And now the corporate Democrats are saying, let's bring back Rahm Emanuel to lose another 1,000 seats. Are you insane? And then they said, oh, we have to anoint Hillary Clinton. How did that turn out? We have to anoint Joe Biden. We have to anoint Kamala Harris. And by the way, Biden only won by 43,000 votes to 3 swing states. They nearly lost to this imbecile 3 times. Look, you can't say someone has despotic tendencies, is a fascist, is a moron, is the worst guy in the world, and then lose to him 2 times and say, you should put me back in charge because I know what I'm doing. No, they have proven definitively that they do not know what they're doing.
Destiny, go ahead.
I mean, there's nothing to say. Like, progressives have nothing to show for their record. They have like bad polling, like that 70-80% of Americans support single payer. That's not true. We've done the polling on this over and over and over again. If you poll in the most favorable manner, they support it. If you poll for what it actually is, that support plummets to like 25%.
That's not remotely true.
It is absolutely true. I don't remember if it was
You're arguing against Democratic policies. It's amazing. Why don't you just join the Republican Party?
So let me just
about whether or not the
one
policy
thing here.
is good or bad. Well,
if I can interject one thing here.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just so funny. At one point, Cenk's like, what about Tim Waltz? We all like Tim Waltz. Everybody likes Tim Waltz on the left. And nobody disagrees. Nobody shakes their head. They're just like, yeah, we like Tim Walz. Tim Walz's wife doesn't even like Tim Walz. Allegedly. I don't know that to be true. That's a joke. Nessio, why do you keep worrying about shit that ain't your business and people that aren't your business? She got hit by a truck, Nessio. She doesn't exist anymore. Stop bringing it up.
From what I've seen, the polling Cenk mentions does exist, around 70-75% support. The polling I've seen with what we might call more specific wording, it's not that support drops to 25%, but I have seen it drop to more like 48 to 50%. I do think a lot of it's complicated because if you just ask someone, does the government have a basic level of responsibility to give people some health care? Most people say yes, and also a lot of them don't necessarily know what that means. I don't know that we're going to solve whether it's a good policy based on 3 different polls that ask it in a different way. I don't know. I've seen the polling.
Well,
both
no,
of
yeah,
you
I
are
understand.
referring
I'm
to.
just saying that, like, if you wanna if you wanna actually pass any policy or do anything, you have to have an actual realistic understanding of what it is Americans even think before you even begin to go down the path of how do we implement it. And the reality is single payer healthcare. When you ask somebody, do you think the government should provide health insurance for people? That polls incredibly well.
Yes.
When you ask, should the government be the second question, there were all 3 of these were listed in a. I wish I could remember the name of the polling firm, but this is around when
I
Bernie
think
was
it's the
running.
Kaiser Family Foundation.
Two girls,
It
one
might be
Cenk.
that. There's a second way of asking it that's more neutral. Of like, do you think that the government should be? Do you think that the government
I don't know. I think Cenk's more girly than Destiny.
should be able to offer insurance or something for all levels, something like that? But then the third question is, should the government be the sole provider of insurance and ban private insurance? And that one is incredibly unpopular. I think that's the one that
ban
pulls at
private insurance. It's like even countries that have universal systems, they don't ban. Most of them don't ban private insurance. So I don't even know why that would be included necessarily.
Because that's what Bernie's plan was. Bernie's plan for healthcare was the furthest left plan of any country that would have ever existed on the face of the earth. There is
Destiny,
no
that's
other
A,
plan.
not true, and B, you really sound like a Republican.
That's
you sound
great,
like
but I
Mitch
actually read
McConnell
the
right
policy,
now.
okay? So Bernie Sanders' plan included things like no copay for drugs.
Cenk
and
calls him a
covered things like
Republican
vision
like
and
3
dental,
times throughout
and
this.
provided for a single means of both insurance and I believe delivery medicine throughout the entire country. It was more left than any other medical plan on the planet. I do agree with what you're saying, Pacman, that there are multi-payer systems. I'm a big fan of either a public option or even a single payer system, depending on how you administer it. I think it's fine. Medicare expansion, all things are fine. But you have to be honest about like where is the electorate at? How do they feel about these things? And you can't
They
just
love
constantly
these
blame
things.
donors and billionaires and even like this huge cope of calling Trump a fake populist. Trump is as populist as they come. He is one man against the system who's telling you that he's going to fight and take it all down as one person against all the corrupt donors and everything else.
Yeah,
This
Trump
as
is pretty
populist
populist,
as they
Cenk.
come. Populists become dictators. This is what populism is. It's the precursor to things like fascism or authoritarian regimes.
You
always
got to
get
be
these,
a
like, short
badass
grapevine.
first.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. Do things that are unpopular.
I mean,
Bernie's
win
not
elections on it,
popular.
so, yeah.
Bernie was popular
and then,
amongst
yeah, go ahead,
losers.
yeah, I was just gonna say, you ruined my train of thought. Go ahead.
Sorry.
The last thing I wanted to ask
Pac-Man
about.
ruined my train of thought. So,
The last thing I wanted to ask about involves sort of both of you on Twitter. Cenk, you kind of went mega viral for responding to Elon Musk and saying, hey, put me in charge of slashing that Pentagon budget. Elon actually replied. He asked for suggestions. Don Jr. replied something like, this is being considered, or it was considered. Destiny, you responded to the entire thing by saying SIGH, S-I-G-H. I think my first question to you, Cenk, is, do you think they genuinely want to cut defense spending, or this entire Department of Grifty Edgelords thing is just really about cutting social programs at the end of the day? Or do you really think the Pentagon is something they would cut?
So let's look at this conversation, right? So
I don't want Cenk
first of
running
all,
our
why did I
damn
call
defense
Trump a fake
spending.
populist? Because he goes rah-rah average man, which I think is smart political strategy, because he's focusing on things that are popular. That's what populism is. Wow, that's rocket science to figure that out as to the correct electoral strategy. But then when he gets in office, what's his number one priority? Corporate tax cuts and delivering for his donors like Miriam Adelson. He put in Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Waltz, Mike Huckabee, all Team Miriam, neocon war hawks. So what happened? I thought you were anti-war. And part of what I'm doing here is
Well, you
some of
got
the right-wing populists actually
half of
do
the
agree with us on
decent
some
selections
issues.
are war
So, for
hawks and half
example,
of them aren't. You
anti-corruption,
got
when
to
I
pick some of the
point out
war
that Mary
hawks
Madelson gave Trump
because we might go to
$137 million,
war.
and then he gave her 4 appointees, people even on the right wing go, yeah, that sucks, and that we don't agree with Trump there, and that's a stunning turn of events. I've never seen that happen before, but it's actually genuinely happening online, and you should give them some credit for that. Now, on cutting, what I'm asking is, do you guys really mean it? And so, if you really mean it, most of the corruption is in the Pentagon. So that's where all the pork goes, because if you question that pork, they go, you're endangering our national security. You're putting all of our lives on the line, etc. So they stuff it full of pork. So I said, look, guys, if you're going to do cuts, let's start at the Pentagon. I can cut $400 billion overnight for you. And what it's doing is putting them to the test. Do you really mean it or don't you? And so a couple of
Yeah, we
surprising
could
things
take some
happen
of
from
those
there. First
DEI
of all,
programs out.
if you look at my comment section, right-wing populists
I
actually
think I
do
agree with
mean it.
that. We could.
So this is going to be really, really interesting. So then Elon and Don Jr. say, yeah, we mean it too, and
We
they
could
follow
save
through
a
on at least
lot
one
on
of the
defense
proposals
spending
that
if we
I mentioned, which was, hey, a lot of these contracts
focus
go to
more
these
on
defense
home.
contractors because the generals, after they retire, go to work for those defense contractors, and that gives them an incentive to sell us out and to buy all these bloated programs because they're literally going to get paid by those same companies. And if they say, yes, you're right, which is where they are today, and we should stop that, so that conflict of interest, well, that's a left wing position that we've been arguing for 20 years. I'll take it. That's fantastic. And that's the unity that mainstream media pretended that they were in favor of, but only when they were doing corporate deals for tax cuts for the rich, et cetera. Now we have some potential actual unity. At the same time, I'm not a sucker. I've been in this game a long time. So is it possible that they don't cut the Pentagon and instead they cut social spending? Of course. Of course. That's
Of
more than
course,
likely.
of course.
The very first conversation we're
We
having
did it.
online about what to cut is the Pentagon.
How about both?
Perfect. You can't ask for anything better from the left wing populist way of looking at it.
So, Destiny, tell us about the reason for the sigh. Is it that you think Cenk's being naive, that they're not really going to cut, or that he's barking up the wrong tree here?
I don't think they plan on cutting. I don't even like the conversation. I feel like there's so many issues I have with this. When progressives and really when anybody talks about taxes or anybody talks about budgets, like the conversation, people always talk about like taxes like they're either this like tool of punishment or self-flagellation, or it's like this noble way of. I think that we should figure out what are the government programs that we want to fund and why. Okay, so do we want single payer healthcare? Do we want expansion of Medicare? Do we want to do SNAP and WIC and benefits programs? Do we want to have tax subsidies for electric cars and solar? Like we figure these things out. Once we figure that out, we have our liabilities. Okay, this is how much we owe, and then we need to figure out how do we raise the money for it. Okay, do we tax people? Do we tariff? Do we whatever? Like how does the government fund these programs? That should be the totality of the conversation about taxes. These arbitrary obsessions with like we got to slash the Pentagon by X dollars. We have to slash the military. Like why? Why? What do we? What do you want to cut? Like, let's talk about that. Do we like was the F-35 program a mistake? Do we want to have like no military presence around the world? Do we shut down
We
all our
got
bases?
F-35
Do we want to
AI
have no more funding towards
pilots.
any type of participation? Then like, what do we actually want to cut? Because the random thing, like imagine, and it's so crazy to me too, especially because like Cenk is a business owner and all these other guys are business owners. You walk in, you ask, okay, I come into your business and you want to cut things. Like, is it just I'm going to cut 40% of my budget? Did you just fire randomly like 40% of your employees? Or like, no, well, you look at departments maybe that aren't making money. You look at parts of your business maybe you don't need, but it's never just like randomly like, okay, we're going to cut half our thing today, unless you've got like a loan that's being called in and you have to pay up or something. So I mean, like that's one part of it. The second part of it is it's okay. So to be fully transparent, I'm unhinged now when it comes to dealing with conservatives. I'm more concerned about turning out base than ever appealing to these insane people. There is no principled foundation to what conservatives believe regarding anything having to do with foreign policy or the military. The exact same people who will say there were no wars under Trump will ignore the fact that he hid how much more we were drone striking people in Yemen. People will say there were no more wars under Trump, and they'll ignore the fact that we allowed, the allies that we had in Syria to die. We'll say no more wars under Trump. We'll ignore the fact that Iran attacked Saudi Arabia, that the United States bombed a Syrian airport, that Assad was chemically gassing his people still, that border riots were raging on in the Gaza Strip. Like it's ridiculous. So for the first time ever, Russian troops were engaging with Ukrainian troops directly in the Donbass. I think in 2018. This idea that like Trump has some allegiance to some foreign policy position where it's like, oh, we're going to cut military spending is absolutely not true.
Well, even more so then. I mean, if that's true, and they'll consider cutting something because Cenk's bringing it up. Isn't that a reason for him to be involved rather than saying, this is a waste of time? I don't know.
I mean, I just hope that people are aware of what
They're not
I
gonna hire
just need
Jay.
people to be aware of like what's going on. Like if you get like oh well they managed to cut $50 million from the military budget and that money was like all earmarked for the VA or something, like that's not a good thing. Right? Like we want we want something. I wish that people just spoke in policies more rather than like we need to tax billionaires because we hate them, or like we need to give tax cuts to billionaires because they save us, or we need to do that. It's like what are the policies that we want to support? What do we want to cut from the military? What do we like? That's I think the more important conversations.
Cenk?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, unfortunately, this is proving at least part of MAGA's point here, which is Destiny's now defending the
MAGA's
Pentagon
point?
against cuts. Like, that's the neocons. And then we brought in the neocons, the Liz Cheneys and the Dick Cheneys. I don't
Wait,
want
should
to
we
be that
abolish our
party.
entire military?
No, of course not. I'm going to tell you what to do in a second. But this idea of like, don't
Yeah,
touch
that
the
was
Pentagon.
Wait, I never said don't touch the
bring,
Pentagon. I just said name what you want to get rid of. I didn't say don't
Okay.
touch it. I just said
So,
name the
but
policy.
you're happy to are you happy to have the conversation about cutting the Pentagon first?
If you have a thing you want to cut from it, then yeah, sure.
Okay, so like you're not like, even as a general thing, you're like, well, I'm not sure about cutting the Pentagon. That's amazing to me. So why did I pick the
Be
Pentagon?
specific,
First of all,
Cenk.
I would much rather have that than cutting social programs. But more importantly, that's where all the waste is, and that's not theoretical or hypothetical. It's real. They just failed their 7th audit in a row just yesterday.
There's a lot of
In the
wasteful
last audit that
spending
they failed, they said we
in the
can't
whole
find $400
government.
billion. Well, if you can't find it, then you're not going to miss it. So that's why I say $400 billion. In 2015, they buried a report that said they had done $125 billion in wasteful spending and didn't know where it went. Not a million, 125 billion. So they're just robbing us blind. The central area of the robbery is the Pentagon. It's not
Just
about
when we
keeping
say
us
when we
safe.
say this money is gone, is this
I don't know
like
if that's.
they
I
can't
wouldn't
account
agree
for it,
with
or
that.
is this like there are certain projects that
Maybe
maybe an
number-wise,
Office of
if he's
Inspector
done
General
the
can't
math,
get
but I
insight to
doubt he
without clearance,
has.
so we don't know? Because you're making
No,
it sound like the money is just like what they're pocketing
gone.
it or what?
They can't account for it. They
Well,
literally
there is a
say,
difference, though, Cenk, between spent on stuff we don't know versus we can't account for it. Those are two different things, admittedly. And I don't know if we have visibility into, is the money gone or are they not able to account for the program spending?
I can't believe I'm having this conversation with two people on the left.
No, Cenk,
theoretically.
to be clear, I'm with you on cutting. I'm with you 1,000% on cutting Pentagon. I even would tell you specific things I would cut. My only gripe is I don't know from what I've seen that when they say unaccounted for, it means spent on mystery stuff. I don't know that that's accurate, but I'm with you 100% on cutting.
And so when Elon asked for specific suggestions, I said, look, the reason I did the conflict of interest on the generals first, number one, every real person agrees. The only people who don't agree are, the corporate guys who are like, oh, well, of course, once we retire, we should be able to take millions of dollars from these different corporations we've been serving all along. So, but in terms of the budget, I said in my tweet, obviously you'd have to go line by line. If the Pentagon says to me, there's $125 billion in wasteful spending and we don't know where it is, how am I supposed to tell you where it is? They just told us they don't know where it is. So if you give me the details of the plan, look, this is now fantastical, right?
Nessio might have beat me
now,
before, though.
Is there any chance that Elon goes, hey, you know what? Cenk's a businessman. He went to Wharton like I did. He's a genuine populist. All right, let's bring him in and let's look at the line items one by
Didn't
one.
you beat me
in
once,
the Pentagon
Nessio?
budget and then take out the wasteful spending. If we did that, do you have any idea how happy the American people would be? And that would be actual unity. They would love it. And we could show them, here's the waste. Here's the thing that didn't work. Here's how they spent 8,000. They did a markup of 8,000% on soap dispensers at Boeing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, are they really going to do that? Probably not. Probably they're going to say, oh, yeah, first we're going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and everything that helps the average man, and we'll get back to the Pentagon later. That's probably how it'll go. But even if that's how it goes, now a lot of the right-wing populists go, wait a minute, I thought you said you were going to cut the Pentagon. I'm in favor of cutting them. Guys, take the win. Right-wing populists are saying cut the Pentagon. This is what we've been dreaming about our whole lives. And now you're against it. That just doesn't make any sense at all. Take the win.
I'm for it. I don't know. I'm certainly not against it. I think the question is,
I'm sure there's a lot of money we could cut out of the Pentagon, but there's a lot of things I would do first. If Cenk's that adamant about cutting the Pentagon, maybe we need to. Maybe there's a reason these lefties, they don't like our military. They just hate America. But no, we do need the military. I don't even know if it would be cutting the Pentagon, but cutting our resources with our military to other countries. There's a lot of money that could be cut, I'm sure. But if Cenk is all about the Pentagon, I'd probably be looking at other places first.
as you're pointing out, at the end of the day, they probably won't do it. If we get people thinking it's a good idea, it still is a win, right, Destiny?
If they cut the Pentagon?
If they say to
Spending?
Cenk on Twitter, we're going to consider that, and then they don't do it, and then right-wingers go, hey, you said you were going to do it, but you didn't do it. That's still a win of sorts.
That would never. You're implying a world where the right wing has the accountability for literally anything they do ever, which will
they've never done it, theoretically.
Yeah. I mean, like,
yeah, because left wings are always so accountable.
Where, I can wave a magic wand.
So I think
Wait. The right wing doesn't get held accountable. How many times has Trump been impeached and charged in different places? I haven't seen Hillary get charged with nothing for murdering a guy. I haven't seen. I see charges getting dropped off Hunter Biden. What the left wing? Who doesn't get held accountable?
MAGA has changed in a way that the rest of the country and media ecosystem does not understand. So MAGA in the old days was yes, daddy, harder daddy, right?
What the fuck?
So these days,
clip it. I'm just gonna want to clip Cenk saying yes, daddy, harder, daddy. I'm gonna have to clip that. That's the last 38 minutes.
That wing of MAGA still exists? Absolutely. If Trump, the demigod, says something, they're going to change their position and support him completely. But there is a different wing of right-wing populists now, and I see them openly disagreeing with Trump on Israel, and on several other issues. So maybe I'm wrong, and then you guys will get to say, "Oh, I can't believe it! You thought that there was any right-wing populist who actually meant anything and had principles." That's such a joke. They all wound up saying, no, add to the Pentagon. Let the generals take any job they want. Israel first, America eighth. To the on wing populist and this harder daddy, right? MAGA in the old days was yes, daddy, harder daddy.
How do I clip it on? I know how to do it on a phone, but how do I do it on desktop? What how do I make a clip when I'm not on my phone? I'll just do it on my phone later.
So MAGA in the old days was yes, daddy.
I don't get it right there. Yes, daddy, harder, daddy.
Media ecosystem does not understand. So MAGA in the old days was yes, daddy, harder, daddy, right? And so these days, does that wing of MAGA still exist? Absolutely. If Trump, the demigod, says something, they're going to change their position and support him completely. But there is a different wing of right-wing populists now, and I see them openly disagreeing with Trump on Israel, and on several other issues. So, maybe I'm wrong. And then you guys will get to say, oh, I can't believe it. You thought that there was any right-wing populist who actually meant anything and had principles. That's such a joke. They all wound up saying, no, add to the Pentagon. Let the generals take any job they want. Israel first, America eighth.
Oh, I thought it would keep playing when I clicked off this. See what James Clue.
Democratic Party is out of step with the working people, and that's a problem.
So all I know is I'm married to a political science guy who says that
Bill Nye?
Things are
a science guy? She's married to a science guy? What? Is it Bill?
Political science guy who says that
oh no, it's probably Steve
in
Nye,
many
the
ways
political
better now.
science guy.
I don't feel I don't
illegal
always,
immigration or just in general?
in general.
Oh,
In general.
well, we would love to talk to your husband about this.
I do feel like the wokeness is hopefully going away because it was no fun being a comic for a while there.
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. We are back at Klug headquarters in Huntington Beach, California. Now that a bit over a week has passed, we're going to see how Americans feel about Donald Trump winning the election. Let's go talk to some people. How are we feeling after the election?
You know we're feeling good.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
100%.
Look, and all these people, I mean, he would find some Trump supporters in his videos, but usually when he walked around here, you know, a few people would be like, you know, we're voting for Trump, you know, as they're walking by, and they would, but then all the Democrats would stop it. No, Trump's horrible, Trump's bad, and now it's gonna be like everybody's just like, oh, we vote for Trump, let's go. Dude, everybody's coming out of the woodwork. They're like, let's go. Play some Mario. I gotta get a new controller. I gotta get a new Switch controller. My freaking run button doesn't work. And my right button doesn't work. Hold right and run. That's how I play Mario. My hold right and my run don't work very good.
I think it's fantastic. I'm extremely excited.
Been praying and hoping, and our prayers were answered.
And praying.
Yeah, it's about time, right?
Of Trump? We're back.
We're back. We're back in business. We're going to take America back.
How do you guys feel about the results?
Man, that lady loved Trump. She's about to let him grab her by the chocha. Get it? Because she's Hispanic. She's a Latinx.
Oh, boy. I love him.
You love him?
Yeah.
I'm not happy, but I wasn't happy with either candidate.
No, thanks.
Man, I don't know how. This is why this is why women shouldn't vote, because I would hate to be married to a Democrat woman around voting time, but also I think that all women are inherently liberal by nature. So you kind of got to get married to a left-leaning lady. That's what they're supposed to be, mama mentality. They're supposed to want to take care of stuff and fix all the problems and stuff. That's a woman. But if they can vote, now you got to talk about it. Now there's going to be problems in the relationship. Because you don't know if she's going to vote for who you told her to vote for.
You guys
Being married to a dang Kamala voter, gotta be rough out there.
not happy.
From the UK and a huge thumbs down.
Huge thumbs down.
Yeah,
Huge thumbs down. Huge thumbs down.
Lost some hope.
Look, now the Democrats don't want to talk to him. They're just keeping it moving. Thumbs down. Nobody cares about your thumbs down, brother.
Like, set us back a little bit, to me.
Hope and change took a back seat.
That's right.
Okay, so we got a Huntington Beach local not
She wanted a
pleased with the
strong
election
black
results.
woman in office.
Were you passionate about Kamala Harris, or how were you feeling about that?
I wasn't super passionate about her, but I didn't like the alternative at all.
Did you think that Kamala was going to take it?
I was hopeful.
You were hopeful.
I thought that Biden should have checked out a little earlier. I think
Right.
it would have been better. And I mean, maybe we would have even had a better candidate.
And I'm a Democrat.
Okay, wait, I love this so much. Hold on. Let's slow down here.
We get together. We can
go ahead.
agree to disagree on
Okay.
things. And
Okay, I really like seeing this because you know what? I'll be totally honest with you. You don't actually see this very often. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat. You guys are friends, having a good time.
absolutely,
Okay.
been friends for years.
We'll go one at a time. It's
Okay.
been over a week since the election. What are our thoughts about the results?
I approve.
You approve?
I think, yeah, I approve.
Right on. Okay, approve. And are we gonna get a maybe slight approve? Where are we at?
I'm scared,
Okay.
but I'm hopeful. I know that.
But everything's already looking better, it seems like. So we're all probably going to eat our words.
This is like.
Don't leave
I
America
know
yet,
Democrats wouldn't be with
Well,
me
no,
on this,
leave.
but I'm only hopeful
No, you
because
can leave.
I think both sides would agree that we need systemic change.
How are we feeling? What are our thoughts?
Systemic
It's where you are
change.
that counts.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
just
you're
Dunham.
Huntington Beach. You're more conservative. You know, it's a bunch of pickup trucks around here.
That's true. But here,
He should talk to the puppet. Where's the puppets? Jeff don't just walk around with those puppets. In his day-to-day life, you don't just carry them puppets with him. Come on, Jeff.
Let me explain Huntington Beach right here. The pier is perfect. It's like maybe a 50-50 because yes, the city, a lot more conservative. This area, it's a destination location, so you get all sorts of people. So you'd be pretty shocked how many mixed views I get.
So what percentage are you at right now?
Here right now?
Yeah.
Maybe 60-40, Trump 60. You voted for Kamala Harris?
I did.
Did you have any friends that voted for Trump or no?
I believe I did.
You believe you did?
Yeah.
And how you doing? Are you are you chatting with them? Are you guys open-minded and having conversations? Are you shutting them out because we're not happy about them voting for T-Dog? What are we thinking?
The first time around, I felt that way. I felt a lot of negativity toward them, but this time I didn't because I felt like there were more differences. There were more reasons why people voted for Trump as opposed to the hate field and things that I thought I voted against. But this time around, it was more, I think, about the economy. I think people felt like they would have a better chance with Trump.
Did you have a lot of friends and family that voted for Donald Trump in Nevada? In Vegas?
I don't think.
Right on.
All of our families.
I never.
I know voted for him.
It was interesting.
If there's one thing I've never done in my life, it's think. I don't think.
Though the data of the voters, it was interesting because she didn't quite win the minorities that Biden quite did. It was interesting, especially when it came to Hispanics.
For sure.
Hispanic males especially, it was really interesting. I think it was like...
Maybe it's because even the Hispanic males can't get a job with all the illegals. Even the citizen, the second generation, the brown people are like, we need to get these immigrants out of here. No sé.
I think from Hispanics, it was down by like 7 or 8%, especially Hispanic males, blacks too,
It was black, Asian, Hispanic,
Asian.
Everyone shifted over.
Yeah, and it was interesting too. She actually did quite well with whites, which was interesting. She liked the projection. It was pretty accurate to what they projected.
See, when I do my show, no matter where I am, and I do this with every single...
Those are virtual signaling white women. But 53% of the dumb white broads voted for Trump. The uneducated white women.
Election. It's what Carson used to do. Leno did it a few times, where I would say, okay, we're going to vote now, and kind of be able to predict what the election is going to be. And Carson would do that, and they would get. It's a big chunk of Americana going through the audiences of the Tonight Show, and he would kind of be able to predict who was going to win the election. And so I do the same thing in my show now, and it was crazy. When it was Trump and Hillary, it was almost always about 60-40, 70-30 towards Trump, right? So then the next election comes along.
It's so interesting. We kind of do something similar with street interviews, but that's you have big rooms filled with all sorts of people coming to see you.
And these are shows that are 5, 6, 8, 9, 10,000 people.
For sure.
And so, and maybe my crowd leans a little bit to the right, but this year there wasn't even a contest. It was like, it's the same. My same audiences, same people show up. So it was literally like 5% Democrat, 95%, and the roof would come off the place. So on all the polls that were out, I'm like, I don't know if these polls are accurate. I really don't know if they are or not, because my audiences are telling me something completely different.
Democratic Party is out of step with the working people, and that's a problem.
Well, you guys, it is back by popular demand. The Donald Doom tee is once again
That's
for
a sick
sale
shirt.
at unitedmerch.com/Klug. It is the best gym t-shirt. It is the best Christmas gift. It is the best way to support my channel right now. And also, we still do have some JK Trucker hats available for you guys.
I don't know. Look at that decal. I don't want a big square decal on the gym shirt, because where the decal is, it's like heavier and it's kind of stickier. I ain't trying to have a big old square decal on my stomach when I'm at the gym.
You guys, they are limited production on those, so scoop those
But
up
that
while
is a
supplies
cool
last.
shirt.
If
I
you
like
want
that
to support my independent work, please make sure to visit unitedmerch.com/Klug and pick up a shirt or a hat today. Thank you guys very much. Let's get back to this video.
There was a big push right before the election. I mean, a couple months before the election was pushing that Donald Trump is going to be an authoritarian leader. This is what we're going to see. Do you actually think we're going to see that under this administration, Donald Trump's administration, or do you think that was not true?
I actually think it's true, unfortunately. I mean, if you look at the people he's already picking for, key positions in his cabinet, I don't think it's going to be good, but I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
You're going to wait and see.
Right, let's see how he does, because I want whoever's in that office to be successful.
Overall, I think the cabinet picks are well done. I love the fact he's got Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy involved.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah, Vivek, sorry, Vivek.
Hard one to say.
Was it Elon Musk and
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah, they're ahead of, was it the efficiency for, I don't even know. Doge?
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, okay.
I love the fact he's got RFK Jr.
Make America healthy again.
For sure.
And who you picked?
Maha.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that pick for RFK Jr.? Was that something that you saw Donald Trump kind of
Okay.
reaching across the aisle with?
So I know he has some background, at least Democrats think he's a little bit loopy, but I want to
no.
give him a chance.
They only thought he was loopy because he said some stuff about the Vaseline.
Considered for Barack Obama's cabinet.
Well,
the
like,
EPA.
Yeah, like I said, politics aside, I like what he stands for. I like what he's doing, and let him have a chance at doing it. If he's the first person that I've heard in a long time, you know.
And Democrats were
agencies inside or out
anti-Vaseline
speak
before
out
the
about
Vaseline.
this issue.
Before the Vaseline, Democrats were anti-Vaseline. The anti-vaxxers were the Dems. Because over on this side, we like making money.
With passion and fervor.
We gonna give you that
I wish
Vaseline.
him the best of luck. I'm behind him 100%.
You as a
The right has
registered
swung on
Democrat,
that.
I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like
We've
those
switched
issues
sides.
are a right or left issue when it comes to America getting healthy
Let
again.
me tell you what I really stand for.
Absolutely.
Forget Democrat label. And maybe progressive, maybe I think I like that more. Here's what I stand for. Healthy food, healthy water, healthy land, good education, and good healthcare system. Whatever party wants to
Trump.
deliver that for me, those are human rights, okay?
That's Trump. But when she says healthcare, she might not be talking about what I'm talking about. Good healthcare? What do you mean by healthcare?
Those are human rights, basic human, fundamental human rights. I don't care what party delivers. Let's do it.
What about
Trump
guns?
had the opportunity to do all of this stuff before and didn't. I mean, he took away rights, but you know, he didn't really fix the border.
Took
He
away
didn't
rights to kill
take care of
babies.
immigration like, you know, he promised he would.
Well, he reached like a 40-year low of illegal crossings under his administration. That was actually one of his accomplishments. Would
But
you
it's
you disagree?
actually lower now than it was then. So, I mean, I don't think that he was.
It's lower now than it was then. You're saying under this administration it was lower. This administration has allowed the most illegal immigrants in the country in the history of the United States.
A lot of people disagree. I'm not.
Those are Biden administration's own figures.
And I'm not familiar with the figures. All I know is.
Okay, so you don't know what
I'm
the hell you're
married
talking
to
about.
a political science guy who says that things are.
Oh yeah, Steve
in
Nye,
many
the
ways
political
better
science
now.
guy.
I don't feel. I don't.
Illegal immigration or just in general?
In general.
Oh,
In general.
well, we would love to talk to your husband about
Exactly,
this, 'cause
Amanda.
that's very interesting,
Yeah.
that perspective.
Yeah.
Because it seems as though a lot of people were pushing that, right?
Yeah.
And like you just mentioned earlier in the conversation, it seems as though the American people didn't agree with that.
That is absolutely.
And that means everything.
Yeah.
You know, so if they're feeling it at home, it's
Yeah, that's what
difficult
they
to tell
mean when
them
they say he
it's
took
actually
away
great
rights.
when they're not feeling it.
Anybody with any intelligence knew the country was going in a very negative direction very fast. We were accumulating debts at an astronomical rate.
Yeah, about $1 trillion per 100 days.
Yeah, we need to stop that because you can't continue to run up debt.
And you know, most of America spoke for what was needed. We went through basically a depression for the last 4 years.
But the bottom line is, you know, they showed footage on the border, right? And they lied and they said the border was secure when 20 million got through. We got 2 wars.
In Plato's Republic, they're like, what if you borrow money from a just person, would it be just to not pay them back? And they're all like, yes, 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 yes. I was like, cool. I agree.
Raging on 2 different fronts. The food went up, the gas went up, the taxes went up, the crime went up. You got young girls getting murdered, their heads bashed in with rocks because the gangs that came in.
What's interesting about that, right? Because these are real concerns that many Americans have, okay?
Right.
And I think that's objectively true, right? This
Right.
isn't like an opinion. These are things that are happening.
Right.
Oftentimes when I bring this up to many Democrat, Kamala Harris supporters, they deny those. What is going on there to where they're not seeing those issues that you're talking about? Are you exaggerating, or are they just not seeing it? What's
There's
going
a
on?
Chinese proverb, a saying that says one picture says 1,000 words. You see a guy that says he didn't go in there and he didn't steal anything from the store, but they got him on camera. One picture says 1,000 words. We've seen it all over the TV. We see people struggling to buy food, to pay their rent.
If I were to give you my honest opinion, it does seem as though many Americans, and you almost can't really blame them, I would argue. Many growing up in America where they trusted the media, and they still want to trust the media, and so they follow them along the journey that they're down right now. The path that they're going down right now.
Well, the media's been bought. They've been bought and they've been corrupted.
Right.
A lot of people know that now.
I think people are really sick and tired, and me especially included, is watching the news. The news should be unbiased and leave their opinions out.
Cable
TV news,
Both
whether
sides,
it
both
be
sides.
CNN, Fox, MSNBC, whatever. You just see the bias, and I find it insulting.
It fuels
watching.
extremism.
Like they're just trying to force their values. They're not. They're putting in opinions on that rather than just reporting the facts and leaving it up to us. They'll say, Trump elected a very controversial, JFK to this post. Leave out the very controversial. Just say he elected this person to the post. It's up to us to decide whether we think he's controversial or not. Somebody just keeps trying to throw in their opinion.
I do think that messaging is quite funny, just because, yes, we've all heard that. And I just think it's funny because it's coming from this position, faking as though we're like super healthy and on the right track as a nation when we've never been more sick and unhealthy. So it's like, oh gosh, he might do something different. I think that's why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump.
Yes.
You're obviously in comedy.
She said NOB, so
wokeness
she gotta look
seems
at her
to
friend.
kind of have been the antithesis of
She's
that
like,
over
well,
the last
you know.
handful of years. And a lot of people it seems like a lot of people wholeheartedly reject that because you have a lot of the massive comedians that are just like, you know what, I'm going to make my jokes. If you don't like them, you can walk out. And there might be one person, but everyone else, all types of people, are going to sit here, have fun, and laugh at each other.
Right.
And laugh at the jokes.
Right. And for somebody that's pre-sold, they're actually paying to see that comedian. It's a little bit easier because that's usually your audience, and they're going to go along with whatever you say or you do. I would hate to be a comic just coming up that nobody knows, and they're there to be at the comedy club and not to see that person, and it's a lot more difficult. But and it's a good feeling right now to feel like it's being lifted. I feel like I can say Merry Christmas now. I can say Happy Hanukkah. I can say Happy Kwanzaa, but I can say Merry Christmas. And
Merry
everybody's
Christmas,
okay with it.
Happy
Most people
Kwanzaa,
are. And I
Happy
think that's
Schwanzaa,
really
Happy
nice
Hanukkah.
right now. So I do feel like the wokeness is hopefully going away because it was no fun being a comic for a while there. And it seems like you say, like now it's okay. If you don't like the jokes, don't buy the tickets, don't come to the show.
Day one of Trump's presidency, what would you just personally like to see him do day one?
A big, like 30 buses.
Thousands of buses.
Yes.
On day one,
Lots of buses.
We can't support the world.
Close the border.
Close the border and start the pipeline
We need buses. Lots of buses.
back up.
Reopen Anwar and reopen the pipeline from Canada.
Just kind of clean up some of Washington.
Basically tell these sanctuary cities if they're not going to follow the laws, then they don't get the money from us, the taxpayers, because there is no government money. It all comes from us taxpayers.
What you're saying right there is what a lot of people are saying. Hey,
Yes.
seal that freaking border,
Yes,
right?
that's the first thing. I think that's going to bleed into a lot of other issues.
Here's how small the world is. This has nothing to do with anything, but I have a character, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist, right? So people think, that's controversial right now. Can you really still do that? People know who he is. It's not a threat. I'm not making fun of anybody's religion. I was doing a world tour, and they booked me in Abu Dhabi. Heavily, it's Muslim, right? And I was scared to death. I thought, what am I going to do here? But this shows me how great the world actually is. 4,000 people there, sold out, most of them Muslims, guys in the dish dash, the women there. I brought Ahmed out, and they thought he was, it was like a homecoming. It was great. They thought it was great. 2 nights later, I'm in the middle of Tel Aviv, Israel, doing the exact same show for 4,000 Jewish people. They thought Ahmed was great. that was their favorite character, I didn't change one word.
Right.
So to me, it's like I feel like the world is filled with mainly good people that all want to get along, and it's the handful of idiots that are ruining it for the rest of us.
Right.
That's what I feel like. Again, I get to see the world through rose-colored glasses because it's all comedy, but people are there to laugh and they have a great time.
Most important, I just hope there's peace in the country. I hope people are coming together and, get back to being our cohesive society instead of being so divided.
We'd just like to see no name calling and more kindness.
I want everyone to get along. I don't really care what side you're on.
No, that's nice
We all
now
need to work
that
through this.
I am going to
now that our side's now that we're winning.
and wait and see.
Now
My
everybody
hope
won't be
is
nice.
He's going to be great.
I think it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing we can do, is come together. Remember the old days where you agree to disagree, and you can hear somebody's opinion and you don't agree with.
Right. So when Biden's president, we take shots at we try to lock up our political opponents and we literally take shots at them. But now everybody's like, "Uh-oh. Daddy's home." Let's be nice again. Let's all be nice.
With it, but you don't just say, "Oh, I can't talk to you anymore. You're not my friend anymore." But I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, and look at them as a whole person. And anybody you really don't agree with 100%, you really aren't. I mean, human nature is inevitably there's always going to be something you're going to disagree with people, but don't let it ruin a good friendship, and just agree to disagree on those issues.
Chilling like a villain,
Hold
Dean.
it together, and we're all Americans.
Well, I wholesomely agree with what you're saying there. More conversation,
Yeah.
more open dialogue, less shouting
Yeah,
each other
now
down
you
and
want
learning
more.
from each other, and kind of instead of imagining this opposition as some caricature.
Yeah, they're backing down real quick off of that these people shouldn't be able to talk and they're suppressing speech. They're backing down. Now let's all just have a good conversation.
In your mind, actually talking to somebody and saying, "Hey, what are your thoughts about this, this, and this?"
Yeah.
You don't have to draw up some imaginary version of some political opposition. You can chat with them face to face. For comedy, as for the next 4 years,
It's going to be great.
It's looking pretty good.
It's going to be fun. But at the same time, as a good comedian, you know how far you can push and what you can say. There's always good fun, and that's what was so great about the old late night comedians is they would make fun of both sides, but it was always good-natured humor, and everyone would laugh at it. Something happened in the last few years, and the late night guys started getting mean and started picking sides and calling the other sides idiots.
What do you think it is? Just putting activism before comedy?
I guess. I don't know. Business-wise, it's the dumbest move on the planet because you're losing half your crowd.
For sure.
But I don't get it. It's like we didn't hire you to tell us how you think and how you're going to vote and how you think we should. It's like I get up on stage every night and I say, shut up and dance, shut up and act, shut up and sing. We don't care what you think. Just do your thing and we'll figure out the politics ourselves. That's kind of the way I see it.
All right, everyone, that is it for today. So we had some pretty interesting conversations. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Also, shout out to Jeff Dunham for hopping in the video. That was pretty cool. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time I post. I'll catch you all in the next video. What are our thoughts?
The vibe shift to the right.
Hi guys, today I wanted to talk to you all about what I believe to be probably the biggest cultural shift that we have ever seen if you're anywhere around my age, except for maybe September 11th. I think that this cultural shift has been observed now for about 2 to 3 years, and when it really was codified as like, yeah, this is happening, it's when Trump won the US election. And now in the aftermath of that, I think that you can very clearly see people are emboldened by that, they're galvanized by it, and people are much more willing to share their viewpoints
Yeah,
on things.
I like
that have been
I like
much
James
more
Clue.
conservative.
James Clue's cool. See, I want to get one of those wireless mics and that little stick he's got, and make a sign. I was thinking instead of change my mind, I do convince me. So then it's a little original. But tons of people have done change my mind stuff. But just have a sign that says, I know if I said like Joseph Smith is a false prophet, convince me. In the middle of downtown Salt Lake City, that'd be an interesting one. I have to brush up on my Mormon apologetics. But some like man on the street stuff. This is Asmon Gold. Sometimes his takes are good. Sometimes his takes piss me off. Sometimes he says stuff and I'm just like, oh man, what is that? Thought you're supposed to be the reasonable center guy, logical.
Conservative, much more traditional than what I think a lot of people would, expect or maybe have you believe. And so I wanted to talk today about why that actually happened, why I think it happened, and where the culture is going to be going from this perspective, right? From this direction. And so anyway, the first thing you have to do in order to explain where it's going to go is to explain where it came from. So the reason why I think a lot of this happened, and we've had a shift, and before I do that, I'll also explain where I think this shift is coming from. I think that we are shifting away from a more censorship heavy, a more, censored speech heavy, compelled speech heavy. And I think that you're seeing a lot of backlash against, what were considered to be like, protected types of thinking and protected groups of people. You're seeing a tremendous amount of backlash against it. I think this is mainly evidenced on Twitter, but you can see this on YouTube comments. You can see this in comment sections of any game or like
Yeah, we're done with the shit.
Any video. I think that in general, you're just seeing a massive backlash against what people believe to be authoritarian levels of compelled thought and compelled speech. And big surprise, where did compelled thought and compelled speech come from? Where is the genesis of that recently? Definitely from COVID. And I think collectively, the government and the social media websites.
No. It's been a thing they've been trying to do since Obama.
It's the way that they handled people that were dissenters during COVID.
When Obama made freaking transformer bathrooms, it all began.
The way that they handled that caused a schism in the trust of the people into the government, into these companies, into anything. And I don't think that disconnect is really going to be mended anytime soon. I think it's probably going to take 10 to 20 years for that trust to be rebuilt, because people would be hearing, oh, well, it's going to take 2 years, or sorry, not 2 years, excuse me, that's actually what it did take, 2 weeks to stop the spread, and just wear a mask.
I guess I would have to say, convince me, semicolon, Joseph Smith is a real prophet. So I pitch it like, instead of, it sounds more positive. We're doing this is The Secret. This is a law of attraction. Instead of saying, Joseph Smith is not a prophet, change my mind. Now you're coming at them aggressively and contentiously, or like competitively, like you're like, Joseph Smith is not a prophet, change my mind. It's like flip it and say, convince me Joseph Smith is a real prophet. So then it sounds more friendly. It sounds more. But I ain't letting them convince me. That's the secret. That's the trick. You can't convince me because you're wrong. You start out friendly with them. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. And then you just start dropping little bombs on them. Like, well, what about. What about.
This will solve it. Just take your vaccine. This will solve it. And I think that the messaging for COVID in general was very authoritarian in many cases. And I think that also there were countries besides the United States that were even more authoritarian with how they handled COVID. And because of that, guess what happened? You had a lot of people who were like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. We don't believe this, and we want to be able to think for ourselves. And when they did that on social media, they got in trouble. Now, you can think that that's a good thing, or you can think it's a bad thing. I'm not really going to try to convince you one way or another, but I think that really the big shift for that was COVID is what really started building up that resentment. And then that resentment finally boiled over, and people were able to express it when I believe Elon Musk bought Twitter. Because before Elon Musk bought Twitter, there was almost no avenue on social media that you could actually speak your mind and give like a honest opinion on things, besides maybe 4chan, right, on poll. And so besides that, you couldn't really say what you think. You can't say it on Reddit. You can't say it on YouTube. YouTube is probably
can't say it on Twitch.
The most liberal with that. You can pretty much say almost as much as you want. But YouTube does still have a lot of restrictions, more so than Twitter, for example. You can't say what you want on Facebook. You can't say what you want on old Twitter. And basically all of these social media platforms that people used were used as basically tools to compel speech and to suppress people's thoughts. And I think that if you just take a step back and you think about this from an
make us talk like 3-year-olds.
I think that you need to come to the realization that
got to use all these code words.
Being told what to think, they don't like being told what to say, and they don't like being told that, and they don't want to be told what to do, right? I mean, at the end of the day. And so anybody who's trying to take an
I don't like being
authoritarian
told that a
stance,
little
try
girl
to
could
tell
be a
you
little
what to
boy.
do, you're going to automatically get a negative response from that, at least here in the United States. And so that's happened, I think, as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
Elon Musk buys Twitter, and now all of the people...
Yeah, they actually have a good sense of humor. They like the South Park show and stuff.
who didn't exist are making up for lost time. Like, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but holy shit, there is a lot.
I take that back. Mormons don't have a good sense of humor. They have a weird sense of humor. They don't get a lot of jokes. Like, or the way I joke, I guess. But then when I go down and visit Florida, it's like I feel like I'm home again because like everybody picks up on like the jokes or the little one-liners or little jabs you'll take. Like you'll say a little joke like I used to always say you won't when somebody be like I'm going to the bathroom. I'd say you won't. It's just like it's funny because it's like yeah I will. I'm about to go to the bathroom. I'm still gonna go to the bathroom. So it's like a stupid you won't for no reason, which is why it's funny. But then you do it to I've done that to like people here in Utah. Be like they're like I gotta go to the store and get some milk. And I say you won't. And they're like yeah I will. I'm like I'm just joking. It's just a joke. Calm down. Like they think I'm like serious. You won't do it. You will not do that.
Lot of race.
That's just an example. Why am I talking about Mormon people? Oh, South Park. But they like the South Park episode. They probably don't like South Park overall, but they'll laugh at that episode.
Racism on Twitter now. Oh my god. And do you want to know why there's a lot of racism on Twitter? I'll tell you why. It's because there's a lot of racist people. That's the reason. Anybody who can speak English all over the world.
Or maybe it's because nobody's racist and it's not actually racism. It's just people being mean or people making jokes or whatever. It's just maybe if you didn't call everything racist, everybody wouldn't use racist stuff so much because they've been told they can't do it and it's so evil and it's so terrible. So it makes people want to do it more. It's edgy, it's cool. A lot of them watch that. Uh, like even some of the missionaries I've talked to have told me they've seen it. They'll bring it up. You'll say something and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw that in the South Park episode." It's like, "Yeah, it's real too." Did you your church didn't tell you it's real though. And then you can show them where it is in all of the writings and the teachings.
Except for maybe a couple of countries.
Like magic underwear.
Few countries, probably more like it, can make a Twitter account and express exactly what they think. And so, big surprise, you're going to have people that live in totally different cultures expressing viewpoints that are not congruent with liberal Western values. And this has been a very, very upsetting reality for many people that use Twitter, but in my opinion, I find it to be a very sobering fact. I think it's extremely important to know what people are actually thinking, rather than having a manicured, curated, and censored view of the world that immediately shatters whenever you introduce it to actual reality, which is what I think happened with the 2024 election. I think that people imagined this was going to happen because all of the celebrities said this was going to happen, all of mainstream media said this was going to happen, and then the day comes and it's actually something totally different.
No, I just mean like slurs. Like when people use slurs, it's just somebody trying to be hateful and say something mean that's going to hurt your feelings. So it's like calling a short guy shorty or a fat person fatty or a dumb person dumbass. When they use these racial slurs, it's just trying to pick an immutable characteristic about you and just attack it. Or, whatever, you dumb whatever, fill in any expletive or insult. That's all they're using those words at. Then when it's a slur, now all of a sudden it's hate speech and then it makes people want to do it more because it makes it more mean and it makes it more edgy to do it. So that's why people just throw racial slurs at each other. It's usually the same. Basically, it's usually the same as them saying you're dumb and ugly, or yeah, you're an idiot. You're shut up, fat ass. Like it's the same thing if you go somebody happens to be black and you say you dumb beep. When people do that on the internet, that's basically all they're doing. They're just insulting somebody based off of what they look like to hurt their feelings. Doesn't necessarily mean that the person saying it hates every single person of that color. Like they probably got friends of that color when they call you that.
And I think that what this has really happened is that people are pushing back against basically there is a false god of authoritarianism that a lot of people online have prescribed to. They have been worshiping this false god. And I think that they are doing that because their other previous gods were determined to be false. There's always the quote.
This is where Asmongold pisses me off. He's always talking shit about Christians. He said Christians who just believe in the Bible is like somebody listening to Hitler and just believing what he says. Yeah, because those two things are comparable.
Of God is dead from Nietzsche, but that's only half of the quote. The full quote is God is dead and we have killed him. I think that the society that's totally killed God, there's no sense of religion in culture anymore. And I think that's by the way, that's very upsetting for many people. Religion is a very reassuring thing for many people. I am not a religion enjoyer, personally. I think that you guys probably know that. I'm much more of an enlightened, euphoric atheist. But at the end of the day, I can recognize that it does have an ordering
I'd say any of your takes on
function in a lot of people's
metaphysics
lives.
are
And so
not
when you're
enlightened
taking
or
that away from
informed.
people and they don't have access to what would be a way to order the universe and a way to see how things are, they're going to invent their own way to order things. And I think that the way that they did that was they replaced religion with political dogma. And I think this has happened in a lot of cases. And really, people that attach their
so tired of
meaning
hearing
and
about
like their identity.
dogma. They always just call whatever worldview they don't like dogma. Every worldview is dogma by that standard. What about the DEI dogma? What about the Marxist dogma? The feminist dogma? What about the LGBT low IQ STD dogma? There's all sorts of dogmas.
And like their feelings onto these different movements, I think that for many of them, they're looking for something that religion or some form of like existential reassurance would give them. And I think that the movements, whether it's a political movement, whether it's a social movement, whether it's a social cause, I think that those movements actually for a lot of people now are filling the place that religion previously had. And I think that if you don't think that's true, just look at how they fucking defend them.
Most of them, I assume, think that we just get buried in the dirt and we decompose and we turn into nutrients for the trees, and then the trees grow off of our bodies. Maybe we turn into some fossil fuels if they understand that fossil fuels don't just come from dinosaurs. Some of them haven't learned that yet. Um, I think that's what they believe, Dean.
I swear to God, there's people, you'd get less pushback from blasphemy in a lot of churches. And so, yes, people get very, very, very attached to these things because they built their entire identity off of them. And I think also this is especially true with young people and with.
Okay, I'm tired of hearing Asmongold. We get it, Asmon. We get it. I get it. Okay. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go to work. Find a place to send you guys over to. Oh, so I can't do the goals. Those goals that Easy has on his channel, they only sent that offer to a select number of creators to try out a new thing that they're testing. The super chat goals, I don't have that option. They might have sent me an email. Bibby asked me a while ago if YouTube had sent me an email talking about new things they were rolling out, and I might have just lost it. It might be somewhere in my old emails. I don't check my emails a lot, so I might have just missed it. I never signed up for it, so I don't have the super chat goal thing. Um, I was just bringing that up because I'm looking at my interface right now. I remembered it, but I'm going to find a place to send you guys over to. Truism. Jess, Buff's live. We'll send you over to Buff. Steve's live too. Jay Dyer. I'll send you over to Buff. Say hi to Buff for us. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Eventually, we're going to get to these morning reading streams. Trying to figure it out. But maybe I'll see you back tomorrow night for a little bit. We'll see. We'll say hi to Buff for me. God bless everybody. Talk to you later.